Good afternoon. My name is David Blanchard, Project Director for Region 3 RPTAC, and we are real excited about this afternoon's webinar offered from Pyramid in Louisiana and focusing on behavioral supports. A couple of things before we hand it over to our speakers in terms of housekeeping. The time is set for these webinars every last Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which means that our next webinar will be July 31st. It'll be focused on systems change at 2 p.m. So we look forward to that conversation webinar. Questions we encourage, as always, throughout the webinar. There'll be points in the presentation where there is interaction and an opportunity to have dialogue or questions around specific areas, but always you are free to enter questions in your chat box to the right, and we will address those at the discretion of the speaker and or at least at the end of the presentation. Automated evaluations will be sent out to all those that registered and participated following the event, and we appreciate everyone taking just a moment. We've ensured that those surveys are brief, so just a moment to complete those evaluations. It helps us as we move forward and into next year to make plans. So let me introduce the speakers and then turn it over. Lynn Farlow and Karen Harper-Royal. Lynn has been a parent advocate for Pyramid Community Parent Resource Center since 1999. Throughout her career at Pyramid, has provided one-on-one assistance to parents, conducted autism support groups around a various array of issues that include positive behavior support workshops. Is a host and writer for the Pyramid Parent Talk radio show. She's recognized by Pyramid in 2002, by the Technical Assistance Alliance for Parent Centers in 2007 and 2012 for dedicated service to family and children with disabilities. Karen has worked as an education advocate in New Orleans and is the Assistant Director of Pyramid Community Parent Resource Center. In addition to working there, she's a member of the New Orleans Education Equity Roundtable and the Coalition for Community Schools, which is a member of the National Journey for Justice Alliance. She is a tireless advocate for students with disabilities and has appeared in a number of broadcasts and publications related to ADHD and public education reform in New Orleans and is recognized nationally and internationally. So I welcome Lynn and Karen. Lynn?
Thanks, David. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lynn, and I have Karen doing her thing where she is. We are glad you took the time out of your busy schedules to participate today. And today we'll give you an overview of positive behavior support for families to use in the home. And in the webinar, we'll talk about what the word positive means. We will have you create a vision of inclusion for either your child or a child in your life. We will talk about what PBS is and what it is not. We'll give you a definition of positive behavior support. And lastly, we will go over the 7 strategies used in PBS. So first, we'd like to share just a small bit of history about Pyramid.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Karen Harper-Royal, and at Pyramid, we have our co-director, DJ Marquis, myself, Karen Harper-Royal. In the middle, you see the pictures. And Lynn Farlow, and we also have our development director, Tiffany Powell, who also works with us at Pyramid. Pyramid got started several years ago. The positive behavior support part of our organization came about because our co-director, Ursula Marquis, purchased a book on positive behavior supports at a conference. And while reading the book, she began using some of the strategies on her son, Dwayne, who had autism. Ursula asked DJ to read the book, and Ursula had a vision to share this information with families in the community. And so this training that we do at Pyramid is a result of Ursula's vision for families, and we carry this work forward in her memory.
All righty. So first we want to talk about the word positive, and that's how we generally start our positive behavior support workshop. Now, when we talk about the word positive, we'd like for you to use the question area or the chat box to write down what does positive mean to you. Just put some words when you hear positive. What does that mean to you? And then we'll kind of debrief that. So take a minute and start sharing with us what positive means to you.
Lynn has said uplifting.
Okay.
Doreen says not negative, upbeat, happy, sincere. Anna says no barriers.
Okay. Anything else?
Alyssa says good. Donna says redirected.
Now, I want to ask you, why do you think we start a workshop in that way, by thinking about what positive means?
Doreen says gets us in the right frame of mind.
And that's true. Because when we're sitting in meetings with our children in IEP meetings, we want to start off on a good foot. So we need to have parents looking at their children in a positive light.
Lynn says to focus on the positives instead of the negatives.
That's correct. So if we don't have any other things that were put in the chat box or the question box.
One last one was Anna says motivates us.
It motivates us. Yes, it certainly does. We had, I had a butterfly downloaded, and what I'd like, Donna, do you think everybody downloaded the butterflies or had access to that?
We sent it out this morning to the 8 attendees that had registered at that time. We have 9 that have registered at this point. Is there anybody that needs those resent to you?
So they don't
Raise
really
your
have
hand.
to have them resent, Donna. What we can do if they don't have them, so we'll use the butterfly, and I want you to think about either your child or children, or a child that you work with, or just a child that you know, and write some positive things about your child. It can be the things that he or she likes to do, things that they're just simply good at, or something that you just love about that child. And write that down, and then I'd like for you to share that. And once they start sharing, Donna, you just let us know.
Okay, I was putting out a message to the entire audience that we will resend the handouts with the evaluation survey.
Okay.
Elisa says funny. Doreen says many times she is more mature than her age. She can be insightful and helpful.
Okay. I know when I think of my daughter, when we do this particular activity, I have a 25-year-old daughter who has autism, and she loves Janet Jackson, so I'll put down loves Janet Jackson. I'll put down the love of music. She loves to go out and do some fine dining, and I love that she's strong. Those are the kinds of things that I share about my daughter. Karen, would you like to share anything?
So how does it make you feel when you express these positive things about your child?
And the attendees can just also share that, how it makes them feel.
Okay,
Karen, are you asking me how I feel?
Oh, I'm asking everyone.
let me catch up with some of them. Kathy had said incredible memory. Anna said my daughter is 18 and she loves to sing and shop. Anna said she feels proud. Doreen says proud to be her mama.
So now, Karen, continue with the question that you had.
So I'm asking everyone, how does it make you feel to express positive things about your child?
Kendall said proud to be their parents.
Good.
Alyssa happy. Kendall encouraging.
And why is it important to recognize these qualities in your child?
Anna had typed in for the previous question, makes me complete. Anna says it wipes away the negative.
Absolutely.
Donna, encouragement. Kathy, you can use the positive to help them with their difficulties. Doreen, you get refocused to the positive.
And how often do you get positive feedback from school reports?
Let me catch Kendall's response so that we don't lose it. Because first, they are a people, not a disability, not a fractured or a partial person. Anna says daily.
That's great.
Doreen, my daughter is 18 and working, getting positive feedback about her work.
And I know that makes her feel great.
And how often do you get negative feedback from schools?
Kendall, daily.
So that's why it's important to do this kind of activity, so that when we sit at the table at schools in IEP meetings and other meetings, that we redirect those meetings and we start off with what's positive about our children. We build off of their strengths and interests.
And how does it make your child feel when you point out one of his or her positive qualities or accomplishments?
Kendall, boosts their self-confidence. Doreen, like she is on top of the world, especially working. Anna, she is nonverbal, but you can see her lift her arms and smile so proud. Alyssa, I'm sure it makes them feel good about themselves.
And how does it make you feel when someone else says something positive about your child?
Proud, Kendall. Alyssa, very proud, very good.
All right. Well, I think that was great feedback. We're on our positive footing, and I know as parents we all are just excited when we write those wonderful things about our children and reflect on that. So now we want to create a vision of inclusion for our children. So what is a vision? A vision is having a picture in your mind of what an individual's life would be if he or she had a chance to live it according to preferences. It basically asks, ideally, how would you love to live your life? And then what is inclusion? Inclusion may be described as providing unconditional opportunities for children with diverse abilities to participate actively in natural environments within their communities.
And so
go ahead,
now
Karen.
we want you to,
Go ahead.
Okay. Now we want you to create your vision of inclusion for your child or a child that's in your life. Use the downloaded Vision of Inclusion page. If you do not have the page, just use a piece of paper. Personalize the page with words, phrases, notes, drawings of all the positive things you want to see happen for your child. Please put things that are happening now and things you see happening in the future. And then after you're done, then you can type some of those things into the question box. And then after we share what's in the question box, we'll talk a little bit more about positive, as we also refer to the butterflies that you used earlier. You know, this is what we mean when we talk about seeing the best things in our child. So just you could make little drawings, whatever makes you more comfortable. Some people write little phrases or words.
And it's important when you're thinking about that vision, you think about now, but make sure you think about the future also.
Yes, I remember many years ago when we would do these workshops, I would always put an airplane because I would see my oldest son as flying off to play his music all over the world. And, you know, that's maybe 10 years ago, and that's exactly what he's doing today.
And for me, with my daughter, my vision for her was always that she would continue to learn while she was in school and continue to be in the community in a productive way. So she's 25 now. She volunteers in different places in our community, and she's known in our community, and she's very productive. So it's important to have that vision, because we encounter a lot of parents who don't have a particular vision for their children, and they don't see good stuff in the future. So it's important to do this kind of activity.
All right, we do.
As soon as we have some things to share, we'll start sharing.
We do have one. Anna wrote, "I would love for my Ashley to be heard, even though she doesn't have a voice."
And we know there's ways that Anna can be heard. So they're working hard on those visions. Karen, what about your vision for your youngest son?
Yes, that's right. I have two sons. My oldest one, Christopher, my youngest one, Kendrick. And, you know, Kendrick, my vision for him was that he'd be able to do the things that he loves to do, and in this new world, he loves video games, and he wants to be a video game designer or a graphic designer. So, you know, he just graduated from high school, and my vision was that he would go to college to engage in those activities, and we're moving forward. He's gone to his college orientation and got his classes all set up, and he's moving forward to work in graphic design and possibly video game design. And that's, you know, been his vision really over all these years. And my vision is that he can engage in the things that he loves and is passionate about.
Okay, we have some more comments. Anna says Ashley will be working in the fall at the library taking transportation 2 days a week. My vision is that for that to increase. Kendall says, I see my child becoming a national speaker. He has speech issues right now. Doreen says, for Brianna, to not put the barriers up herself and to push herself and soar like an eagle.
And this is wonderful. And, when we talk about looking at the positive, we look back at those butterflies, this is what we mean, seeing those best things in our children. And when we share our vision for inclusion, we're focusing the attention on positive outcomes of what we want to see now and what we want to see into the future.
Donna, did anybody else share anything before we go on to the next slide?
No, I don't see anything else.
Okay, all right. Well, those are great visions of inclusion. I'll just say one more because like Karen, I have 2 children. So I have a 16-year-old son, and 16 is quite the age, and they do all kinds of things. But I love him dearly. I have a vision that, of course, that he will graduate from high school and continue on to college. He does all kinds of sports. My vision is that he continues to enjoy those extracurriculars like he does. He's a swimmer, he plays basketball, and he has aspirations of going into the business world. So I hope to see him reach his accomplishments. I hope to see him married and have a successful relationship. So the sky is the limit. So that's just a little tad bit about my son.
We have 2 more comments that have come in. Lynn says to have Annie live semi-independently with a job and social life. Kathy Powell says, my vision for my son Sam, who has autism, is that he always be placed in a setting or program providing him with social activities to help him with social anxieties to best learn.
All right. That's great comments and great vision. So our next slide is, so positive behavior support, what it is and what it's not. And PBS is a new way of looking at behavior. There's often a message behind difficult behavior, and it's our job to look at behaviors differently and try to get at the true meaning of that behavior. Look at the whys. PBS also treats the person with respect. We want our children to be respected, and we spend a lifetime of advocating for them so that we can get that respect for them, and if at all possible, if they can, advocate for themselves and demand respect. In PBS, we try not to violate a person's dignity, no matter how undignified that behavior is. You should not attack a person, put him or her down, especially in front of other people. So we work hard on that one. PBS appreciates and pays attention to positive behavior, and it ignores those challenging behaviors to the extent that it's possible. And we're going to go more into the specific strategy of ignoring challenging behaviors, the ones that you can ignore. And an important aspect of PBS is changing your own behavior, and of course that's big. In my home, we recently started getting services from the community support team, and that team comes in and looks at a child's behavior, looks at your behavior, put together a behavior plan. Now, my daughter was waiting on that waiting list since she was about in the 10th grade, and it took that long for us to get that particular service. And it was the biggest piece that was missing in our life. And so it started back in August, and the services just ended about a week or so ago. I was so excited for her to get those services, for this family to get those services, and it really, really helped us tweak our particular plans, helped us tweak our behaviors. So you have to change how you respond to your child's challenging behavior. It's important to ignore the negative behaviors when it's safe to do so. And when you see positive behaviors, make sure you notice and comment on these behaviors. And you have to be sincere about that. Positive behavior support seeks to understand why the challenging behaviors occurs. It gets at the behavior's function or purpose. We ask and try to answer the question, what is this behavior communicating? And so in our workshops, we spend a lot of time on, how to collect data, how to be observant, so we can get at those whys. PBS uses pre-planning to prevent or decrease challenging behaviors and increase positive behaviors. So I do that a lot in my life with my daughter. When you have to go to the grocery store, you have to do a lot of planning, you have to do a lot of talking to her. She expects a vacation every summer. She's used to that, so she starts talking about it probably in April, looking for her vacation. So we show her on the calendar when she's going on vacation. And it's important to do those kinds of things. PBS avoids using contingencies, and that's a big one. And you're using contingencies if you're always using the word if. In other words, it's sounding like a bribe. So a good example of that is, like, if you have your child, you tell your child, if you do your homework, then you'll get a treat afterwards. So that's a bribe, that's a contingency, and you want to avoid those. The good way to avoid contingencies is to catch your children when they're doing the good stuff and praise them in a genuine way when you catch them doing the good stuff.
PBS doesn't, what PBS is and what it is not. PBS doesn't wait for a crisis to develop. We use the PBS concepts and strategies daily as an active part of individual family life. Now, we do know that crises do develop. And when we do this training, on our day 2 of the training is when we do some work on a crisis plan. But we want to make sure that people understand that crisis planning is much different than using PBS strategies and concepts daily. Positive behavior support does not view the individual as a problem. We view systems and a lack of skills as the problem. Attitude counts for a lot. When adults have the attitude that the child is the problem, the child is bad, the child is hopeless, then they are usually very short on solutions. Many people thought of Albert Einstein as a problem child, and they weren't really looking at all those positive things that he had to offer. So it's very important that we not see the person as the problem, and we look at the systems, the settings, the lack of skills, what's missing in those systems. Positive behavior support seeks a comprehensive lifestyle change. This is really a new way of being with your child. The overall goal of PBS is to improve the life of the person. Reducing problem behavior is not enough, especially if the only result that is produced is a compliant, quiet individual who does not bother parents, teachers, or others. Most of the time, problem behavior is communicating the person's unhappiness with how we are living. A child may be feeling left out, segregated, without any personal control. He or she may feel that everyday life is empty. The goal is to try to improve the life of the person with these behaviors. Positive behavior support seeks to increase the person's independence, productivity, and inclusion at home, in school, and in the community. PBS recognizes that creating new learning, living, working, and recreational opportunities based on a person's strengths and preferences are as important as reducing the challenging behavior. PBS doesn't use punishment. People tend to use punishment because it's what they have learned to do, or because of our culture or upbringing. People will still use punishment even when it doesn't result in the desired outcomes. So it begs the question, what is the desired outcome?
And when we do our workshop, we spend a lot of time on discipline and punishment. And we ask the people that attend the workshops, you know, to have a healthy discussion about that, because you have to be able to look at yourself and ask yourself, are you using the proper strategies, and are you looking at it properly when you think about punishment? And is it working? I'll say how, like Dr. Phil says, and how's that working for you? So it's always a good, healthy discussion when we talk about punishment and discipline. Before I go to what positive, a good definition of positive behavior support is, maybe we'll have the attendees give a short definition of what, how they would define positive support. Just a little something brief. And think about all of the things that we've said so far, because we've talked about the positive, what that means. We've talked about behavior and what, you know, what that entails. We've talked about how we need to support our individual who has challenging behavior. So think about all of those things, and what do you think a good definition of positive behavior support is?
Kathy Powell said, catching them when they're good, spotlighting.
Okay, that's definitely part of it, and I love that because I always emphasize that in workshops, catching them while they're good, and I think that should be a magnet that we all have on our refrigerator. Catch them while they're good. And you know, we always say positive behavior support can be used on anyone. You know, you don't have to have a child with a disability. You know, I use positive behavior support on all of the folk in my family. Any other thoughts on what a good definition is? All right, if not, then let's define it. So, positive behavior support is a new way of looking at behavior. It uses many approaches to replace challenging behavior with appropriate behavior, respecting the person, giving attention to positive behavior, and ignoring negative behavior when possible, finding out the purpose of the behavior, and teaching new skills. So that's the definition, the simple definition of positive behavior support. And based upon that, we'll go right into the 7 strategies of positive behavior support.
And so the first strategy of positive behavior support is give positive reinforcement for positive behavior. That's that catching them when they're being good. You know, you might say, oh, Kendrick, I really like the way you picked up all the toys in your room today. You want to get the child or the person really accustomed to and even addicted to feeling that positive interaction with you.
And you want to catch, you know, you want to praise them with hugs and kisses and words of approval. And you don't want to wait for a crisis to develop for challenging behaviors occur. You know, you want to do this daily in your life. And you remember, you know, you don't want to use contingencies. Instead, recognize the opportunities. And you should plan for those opportunities. Because a lot of times with my daughter, you know, you sometimes you have to plan to get some good behavior, and you strategically do that so that you can offer that praise. And so that's an important thing in this first strategy, to give that positive reinforcement. And always remember that you should be sincere when you're doing that.
And one other point I want to make is that you don't want to make children think that they're going to get a prize or reward for every little thing they do good. So, you know, you got to be on the lookout for that. That's why the hugs or praise is so important. You don't want to get yourself set up where you got to buy a treat just because they did something good. So be careful of that.
All right. So that's the first strategy. And then the next strategy is to ignore problem behaviors when possible. So if at all possible, withhold your attention from the problem behavior. Look at other ways to look at other ways to deal with this. Try to continue what you're doing as long as the behavior does not present a threat to your child or others. Of course, if your child is laying prone in front of CVS in the doorway, that's a big problem. You can't ignore that. But it's those annoying little things that your children may do. With my daughter, she constantly might repeat something. If she wants to go bye-bye.
Lynn, I'm not sure. I can't hear you. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. So the next strategy is read.
No, Karen,
I'm sorry?
you must have gone out because I was still on ignoring the problem behaviors.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I couldn't hear anything.
Okay, no, but we're still on that slide.
Okay.
And so what I was saying is, I was giving examples of ignoring problem behaviors, and and I was using Jade as an example of constantly repeating things, and that's something that you can ignore. If she's ready to go bye-bye, she'll keep saying it, and that's something you can ignore. It's those kinds of little things like whistling. You can ignore that. Tapping on a desk. You can ignore those things. They're annoying, and it takes practice, but those are things that you truly can ignore. You have to decide. You have to pick your battles. And Karen, why don't you give some examples of some more things that you can ignore?
Well, you took my best ones: the whistling and the tapping on the desk, the constantly bouncing your leg, because some children just have to move, so you don't want to get in the habit of always calling attention to those little, maybe sometimes annoying behaviors, but they're not things that are dangerous or going to cause harm to someone else. Now, you know you can't ignore certain things like throwing a rock at someone's head. That's not the kinds of things that we're talking about, or something that puts a child or someone else in danger. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about those slightly little annoying behaviors that we know the person will do, and you don't want to have to constantly give negative attention to that.
And actually, at this point, I think that our participants can give, if they have any examples of this, the things that they can ignore with their kids. Why don't they use the question box to tell us what those things are? And Donna, just let me know when we have some examples.
All right. At this point, we don't have anything that has shown up at this moment.
Well, guess what? If we don't have anything, that's good. That means that the attendees have some children that's doing some good stuff. All right. So our next.
The next one is redirect the child's attention. There are some things that inevitably will happen in certain situations. And so if you see a child, let's say you're at the park, and your child keeps throwing sticks at the people on the swings, maybe that's the time to redirect that child's attention to maybe the sliding board or a different area of the park, so that they're not continuing to do that really bad thing. You also find sometimes when you're in a grocery store, if your child, you go down the cereal aisle, they're constantly trying to grab the cereal you don't want them to have. You might want to redirect their attention to maybe the juice or something else.
And also, what's important to talk about with redirecting the child's attention is the triggers. It's important to know your child's triggers. It's important to share that those triggers with the people that work with your children. And you need to know what that looks like, because when you see the triggers happening, like for my daughter, I know when she's about to set things off. I know what she's going to do. Her lips are pursed. She bucks her eyes out. She's kind of rocking back and forth. That's trouble. And so when you see those triggers, then you definitely want to, with her, I might start talking about family members, where they are, to get her mind off of what's bothering her at the time. And also, if the attendees have some examples of how they redirect or what's the triggers in their children, this is a good time to share that with us.
I didn't know if it applies to the question you've just asked, but Anna just a few minutes ago said, my youngest daughter is 5 and she just speaks her mind even though it is not appropriate. It is embarrassing, and if I say something, she just continues. Any suggestions?
So she uses embarrassing, she says embarrassing things, and she speaks her mind. She's just kind of frank and direct. Karen, what you think?
Yes.
Well, I think that, there is a need for a conversation about what's appropriate to say. While we always want you to be truthful, there are certain times when it's just not appropriate to say certain things. I think that's one thing that has to happen. And that might be a good time, when she does say something inappropriate, might be a good time to redirect her attention to something that is a positive, appropriate thing to say, a positive or replacement subject at that time.
And it might be useful to use role play with that, and then describe or tell her, how that might make a person feel. I think I would try that.
Anna said, example, if she walks in her aunt's house, she might say, this house is a mess.
And that would be the time to talk about it. Don't you think, Karen?
Yeah, also it could be a good time to ask her, so, perhaps there's some things you can do to help take care of things that she sees as problematic in the house. Maybe her aunt needs some help picking up some things. Get her involved with that.
Yeah, I think those are good ideas. And that's Anna that was saying that, Donna?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think tell her to try some of that. And I think it's going to be about continuing to have those conversations with her, continuing to talk about how that might make somebody else feel, so she can try to empathize. But I can definitely see, where that goes.
Anna said, oh, thank you. Okay, thank you.
All right. So the next strategy.
Kathy Powell says, tell Anna not to feel too bad. My son told his aunt that her house smelled like 100 dogs. So, Anna, you have some company. You have some company.
So it's really about having those conversations, role playing, and keeping that dialogue going, and helping them to understand why that might hurt somebody's feelings. And then also there's another way to say things. And and they're going to be working on this for a long time. So our next strategy is about changing the environment. Now this is a big one. When you sometimes things around the home can make a difference in an environment, because a lot of times it could be the space. A lot of times, and I described earlier about when I have to go in Walmart with my daughter, or maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But when we plan to go to Walmart, we have to do a lot of talking to my daughter, because Walmart is where the puzzles and flashcards live. And my daughter has obsessive compulsive features to her autism. And what we do is we plan before we go to Walmart and say, hey, we're going to Walmart to get a few things. We're not getting puzzles and flashcards. And, we have, I tell her, I need you to act like a lady, and so we could get in and out. Now, if she's hyped up, then we just won't go to Walmart. We'll go somewhere else. So you definitely have to change the environment, and inside of that was that little bit of planning. You never know what might set a child off. Another example for my daughter is she doesn't like stained glass windows. I noticed that when she was very young. So we're Catholic, and Catholic churches have stained glass windows. So a lot of times we just can't go into church. So you have to test that. And the other thing is, environment is not just spaces. It can be people. So if you notice that a certain person is setting your child off, you have to think about whether you want your child in that person's space, and you got to try to figure out, well, why, what's happening with that. And while I'm talking, if y'all have any examples of what happens with your children in the environment, please share them. A lot of kids that, when we talk to parents in IEP meetings or before IEP meetings in terms of environment, children with autism have a lot of sensory issues, so you have to definitely find out how the environment stimulates them, because a lot of children are in school in environments that's creating sensory issues for them. So this is definitely a major thing in terms of helping your children if you have to change the environment. Sometimes it could be as simple as changing a paint color in the room. I remember when my daughter was younger, I had an issue. She no longer wanted to stay in her room. So we kind of brainstormed to see how could we get her to stay in her room. And at that time, she was still, she had began loving Janet Jackson. And part of the change was to put more of Janet Jackson in the room. So those were some of the things that I did. Karen, you have anything else to add to changing the environment?
Sometimes it means you actually have to leave a place. To change that environment. You may be at a relative's house and it just isn't going well. So you have to always be prepared to leave.
And because you don't want to traumatize the child and traumatize everybody.
Right.
So the next strategy, if we don't have any thing to share about change the environment,
Actually, we had
predictability.
Actually, we had Doreen make a statement. She said, I wish I had had this when we were homeschooling years ago. We did some things right and some things wrong, but she is now working, and I'm glad we got through those years.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
You begin where you are.
So the next one is increased predictability. Lynn spoke earlier about planning for vacation, and you know, her daughter kind of knows when it's getting close to that time of the year. So I know that for both my sons have ADHD, and for many years when they were much younger doing homework, we would use a timer to make sure that they were able to get some of the work, all the different subjects done, and kind of get them in the habit of trying to get it done within a certain time period. So the timer was very important. It's important for students, well, for children to know what things are coming up so that they're not constantly nagging for something when they could easily see that it is right there on the calendar. This is a good thing where we kind of help our kids to be more independent in managing their own time. So, you know, letting them know what time you're going to pick them up every day is very important so that they get used to that predictability about what time they're going to be picked up. They need to know what's happening in their day. So that's why predictability is so important, and it helps to cut down on some negative, unwanted behaviors.
Absolutely, and it's important. It's for our kids who have communication deficits to have those timers. And for Jade, I use the time timer where you can. It has a red dial, and you see the time elapsing. And it's very important for her because she has a hard time waiting. So when we're trying to stretch out the times that she will get one of the things that she's obsessing on, we'll use that timer to help her. It's very important for her to have visual schedules at home, and it was important for her to definitely have it at school for transitions. So you definitely have to help them and use those aids to increase predictability. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. No, go ahead. That was it. The next one.
All right. So the next one is offer choices. And, of course, that's a big one also. You want to be able to offer choices to your children. And you know, why is that important? Can you tell me why that's important? Use the question box to tell me why it's important to offer choices to your children. And sometimes that's very difficult depending on the level of functioning of your child, but it's something that definitely can be taught.
Doreen said, let your child know their opinion matters.
Absolutely. Because you're helping that person move toward maturity and independence, and to help, you know, allowing them to make their own choices. And I know the way I started with my daughter is I started with breakfast. I would just put out 3 different things and say, hey, which one of these do you want? And if she didn't choose anything, I would choose it for her just to show her, just to help her to understand what I was doing. It makes a difference in your life to have choices, because imagine a life without choices. Karen, you have anything to add to that particular strategy?
No, I think we covered the bases on that one.
All right.
So the next one is teach new skills. Whenever you're dealing with behaviors, as you aim to get rid of the negative behaviors, you want those replaced with new positive behaviors. And many of those behaviors will help increase the independence in the child and decrease their frustration, such as learning how to tie your shoes or ride a bike. You know, that definitely builds up a child's independence. Reducing frustration. Teaching reading skills is another one. Communication skills. That's a huge one. Helping to find a way to teach us, even a nonverbal child, a way to communicate will definitely help to reduce some of those unwanted behaviors.
All right. So that wraps up the strategies. If any of the attendees want to share any of the strategies or anything about the strategies, they can do it now. And even if they had any other any questions regarding the webinar, they can do that at this time now. Because we went over positive reinforcement, ignoring problem behavior, redirecting, and making sure you know what the triggers are, changing the environment, the importance of predictability and scheduling, offering choices, and teaching new skills.
So before we go on, do we have anything, Donna?
No.
Okay, so positive behavior support, when we do this training, it's a full 2-day workshop, but today in this overview we went over a little bit about what it is and what it isn't and what the 7 strategies are. And the rest of our workshop, the 2-day workshop, we go more into defining positive behavior support. It's a very interactive workshop with lots of participation from the participants. We have usually a very healthy discussion about discipline versus, discipline strategies versus PBS strategies. We have some role play exercises. We go deep into doing a functional behavior analysis, and we help the participants learn how to make a plan and how to monitor that behavior plan. And as I said earlier, we talk about crisis planning. If you want to know more about positive behavior support, you could go to www.pbis.org. And if you want to be able to contact us at Pyramid, we have our website, thepyramidparentcenter.org, or call our Pyramid helpline at 504-218-8922. And on your screen, you'll see Lynn and my own email address.
And also, Karen, why don't you talk about the radio show?
That's right. Pyramid hosts a twice-a-month radio show, which we have past episodes of our radio show on our radio show website, which is www.pyramidparenttalk.com. It's every second and fourth Tuesday at 2 p.m. on WBOK Radio. And you can access WBOK Radio online at www.wbok1230am.com. That's every second and fourth Tuesday at 2 p.m. It goes from 2 p.m. till 2:30. And again, you can find the shows that have already aired at www.pyramidparenttalk.com.
And we appreciate taking the time to have y'all join us and present this information to you all.
We've had several of the attendees who have said great information, and thank you.
Lynn and Karen, this is David Blanchard. We want to thank y'all for spending the afternoon with us and doing such a fabulous job on educating us around the basics of behavioral supports. We want to thank everyone for participating. Thank you. We also want to thank everyone in Region 3 for participating in today's webinar and remind you that when you do get the evaluation, it'll come with the handouts that were referred to through the presentation. If you have any questions, you can direct it to Karen, Lynn, or myself, and I'll forward it on to Pyramid. And we hope to see all of you or hear all of you next time. July 31st will be the last Thursday of July where we'll focus on systems change, and we look forward to that presentation. And with that, we adjourn our webinar. Good afternoon.